My hand closed around a single piece of paper. It was tucked deep inside the glove compartment of her SUV. It felt stiff, official, wrong. It was a hotel receipt, 1 king bed. For a night my wife, Chloe, was supposed to be at the office. The date was 6 weeks ago. The name of the hotel burned itself into my mind. The Alistair. It wasn't just a receipt, it was a question. And I knew, deep in my gut, I wasn't going to like the answer. Our 10-year anniversary was just weeks away. Chloe was in her element. She was an event planner after all. She was designing the perfect party to celebrate our perfect life. She showed me pictures of fairy lights. She talked about champagne fountains. She was building a monument to a decade of lies. And I just smiled. I nodded along. I let her plan every last detail, because I was planning something too, a final act for our marriage. She thought she was writing the next chapter of our love story. She had no idea I was about to close the book, forever. For 10 years, our life was a blueprint I had followed perfectly. I'm an architect. I see the world in lines and structures, foundations. My foundation was Chloe. We met in our last year at CU Boulder. She was vibrant, full of energy. She could walk into a silent room and leave it buzzing with laughter. I was the quiet one, the planner, the observer. She was the one who pulled me onto the dance floor. We just worked. We fit. I built my firm from nothing, just a drafting table in a spare bedroom. Chloe was my biggest cheerleader. She'd bring me coffee on late nights. She'd celebrate every small contract I landed. When the firm finally took off, I bought a plot of land in the Denver suburbs. I spent a year designing our home. Every window was placed to catch the morning sun. Every room was designed for the life we were going to live. It was my masterpiece, a testament to us. Our life inside it was comfortable, easy. We had our routines. My best friend David and his wife Sarah came for dinner every other Friday. David and I played golf on Saturdays. He was my brother. The 4 of us were inseparable, a perfect little world. You see, I thought our foundation was solid rock. I never thought to check for cracks. The first one was small, almost invisible. It started about a year ago. Chloe became attached to her phone, not just checking it often. We all do that. This was different. Protective. She started placing it face down on the kitchen counter, or on the nightstand, always screen down. One night, I reached for it to check the time. She flinched. A tiny, sharp movement. "What's up?" I asked, keeping my voice light. She forced a laugh. "Nothing. The screen is just so bright it keeps flashing with work notifications. Drives me crazy." It made sense. Her job was demanding. So I let it go. I didn't think about it again. But the phone stayed face down. A small, dark mirror reflecting nothing. Then came the late nights at work. They started slowly, 1 a month, then 1 a week. Before, she'd always text me pictures of her team eating takeout pizza, complaining about deadlines. Now, it was just a quick call. Her voice would be rushed, breathless. "Hey, honey," she'd say, "going to be a late one. This proposal is killing me. Don't wait up." "Everything okay?" I'd ask. "Need me to bring you anything?" No, I'm fine. Just swamped. Love you. Click. I'd sit at the huge dining table I designed for us. The food I'd cooked would get cold. I'd feel a small sting of disappointment, a little loneliness. But I'd tell myself to be a supportive husband. Her career was taking off. I should be proud of her. So I was. I ate alone. I cleaned up. I went to bed. I told myself it was temporary. The final piece was the oddest. It was a drawer. In her home office, there's a small antique desk we bought together. It has a little drawer on the right side. For years, it was our junk drawer. Old pens, paper clips, stray stamps. One afternoon, I went in looking for a battery. I pulled the handle. It wouldn't budge. It was locked. I jiggled it. Nothing. A tiny keyhole stared back at me. Chloe walked in as I was standing there. She smiled, a little too brightly. "What are you doing, you big snoop?" she teased. "The drawer's locked," I said. "Just needed a battery." She laughed and wrapped her arms around my neck. "I'm hiding your anniversary present in there. You are not allowed to peek. I had to find the one place you'd never look. I felt foolish. Of course, our 10-year was coming up. It was a huge milestone. She was planning something special. She was always so thoughtful. I kissed her. I thanked her for being so amazing. I forgot all about the drawer. A locked drawer. Late nights. A phone that never showed its face. Separately, they were nothing. Just stray threads in the fabric of a busy life. I never thought to pull on them. I never imagined they were all connected. I never imagined they were slowly unraveling everything I had ever built. Until that afternoon, that Tuesday, when I was just looking for a tire pressure gauge in her car. My fingers brushed against a stiff, folded piece of paper. It was tucked deep inside the owner's manual. I pulled it out. The paper was thick, expensive. The logo at the top was elegant. The Alistair Hotel, a boutique place downtown. I'd heard of it, never been. I scanned the details. 1 night, 1 king bed. The date was a Tuesday, 6 weeks ago. A memory surfaced, sharp and unwelcome. That was the night she'd called me. Rushed, breathless, the big proposal was killing her. Don't wait up. A cold wave washed over me, right there in the driver's seat. It wasn't proof. Not really. It was just a question that started screaming in my head. I folded the receipt carefully. I slid it into my pocket. I found the tire gauge. I closed the glove compartment. The click echoed in the silent garage. That night, everything felt different. The way she smiled at me over dinner, the way she asked about my day. It was all a performance. And for the first time, I could see the stage lights. I could see the script. I waited. I waited until the house was dark, until her breathing beside me was deep and even. I slipped out of bed. I went to my office and closed the door. The only light came from my monitor, a cold blue glow. I pulled up our shared credit card statements. My heart was a hammer against my ribs. I typed the Alistair into the search bar. I hit enter. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't 1 charge. It was 6. 6 charges over the last year. Each one for a single night. A king bed. My hands were shaking now. I opened my calendar in another window. I started cross-referencing the dates, one by one. The first charge, a girls' weekend in Aspen. The second, a conference that ran late. The third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, every single one was a late work night. Every single lie was now a line item, a number on a screen. And I thought of her phone, always face down. Was she getting texts from him? From someone? Was she hiding a whole other world on that little black screen? The locked drawer in her office. The anniversary present. What a perfect excuse. What a perfect, simple lie. It was a place to hide things, all right, just not my gift. But who was it? The question was a physical pain, a faceless man, a stranger, or worse, someone I knew. The thought made me sick. I needed to know. I don't know why I did it. A gut feeling, a desperate, last-ditch effort to prove myself wrong. I opened David's social media page, my best friend, my brother. I scrolled through his posts, golfing pictures, a shot of him and Sarah at dinner, normal life. I kept scrolling back through the months, and then I found it. A post from the same weekend as Chloe's girls' trip. It was a picture of him, a selfie. He was smiling, wearing sunglasses. The caption read, "Nothing beats a solo hiking trip, clearing my head in the mountains." My blood ran cold. He was supposed to be in the mountains. But something was wrong with the picture. The background was blurry, but the reflection in his sunglasses, it was crystal clear. I zoomed in, my screen pixelated, but the image was undeniable. It wasn't trees, it wasn't mountains, it was the distinctive red brickwork of downtown Denver. You could almost make out the skyline, the same skyline visible from the Alistair. It all crashed down at once. The phone, the late nights, the hotel, David. It wasn't a stranger. It was him, my best friend, in a hotel room with my wife, the two most important people in my world. The betrayal was absolute. It felt like my lungs were collapsing. I sat there in the dark for hours, just staring at the screen. The anger came first, a white-hot rage. I wanted to smash things. I wanted to scream. I wanted to wake them both up and destroy their world. Just like they had destroyed mine. But then, something else took over. Something cold, something quiet and patient. Rage is a fire. It burns out. This new feeling, it was ice. It was permanent. I needed proof, real proof, the kind a lawyer can't argue with. I spent the next week living in a fog. I went to work, I came home, I kissed my wife, I talked to David on the phone, I played my part. Every smile was a lie. Every conversation was a trap. They had no idea. They walked around in the beautiful home I built for us. They laughed. They touched my arm. And all I could see was their treachery. I picked a Tuesday night, exactly 1 week after I found the receipt. I made her favorite pasta. I opened a good bottle of wine. I put my phone on the kitchen island. I pressed record. We ate. We talked about nothing. The weather, a project at my firm. Then, I set the hook. "Hey," I said, swirling my wine. "Is everything okay with David?" Chloe's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. She tensed, just for a second. "What? Yeah, I think so. Why?" "I don't know," I said. I shrugged, faking concern. "He seemed distant lately. Trouble with Sarah?" I watched her face. I saw the flicker of panic in her eyes. She was debating how much to say, how much to hide. She wanted to protect him. That was the mistake I was counting on. She put her fork down. She sighed. A long, dramatic sigh, full of manufactured sadness. "Mark, it's complicated." And then it all came out. The whole sordid story. It started 2 years ago, at a work event, a drunk mistake that wasn't a mistake. It just kept happening. She told me how they did it. They used his company credit card for the hotels. That's why I never saw the charges. They had a system, a routine. She cried. Crocodile tears streamed down her face. She talked about her guilt, her confusion. I just sat there. I let her talk. I needed her to say it all. To admit everything. And then, at the very end, through her sobs, she gave me the one line that sealed her fate. The one sentence that would burn her entire world to the ground. "We never meant for it to hurt you, Mark," she whispered, reaching for my hand. "It just happened." I didn't pull my hand away. I let her hold it. I nodded. I looked into her eyes. The eyes of a stranger. My heart wasn't breaking. It was turning to stone. Later that night, I went back to my office. I stopped the recording. I saved the file. Her confession. Her lies. All captured in a tiny audio file. I had it. I had everything. The foundation of our life was a ruin. But I'm an architect. I know how to build, and I know how to demolish. I knew exactly what I had to do next. The next morning, the sun came up. I hadn't slept. I just sat in my office. The audio file was on my laptop screen, a tiny icon holding a thermonuclear bomb. My world was already ashes. Now it was time to salt the earth. I opened my browser. I didn't search for marriage counselors. I searched for sharks. I found the biggest one in Denver. Her name was Ms. Albright. Her office was on the 40th floor. It overlooked the entire city, floor-to-ceiling windows, cold leather chairs. She was older, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She didn't offer coffee. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. She just sat behind a massive mahogany desk. "Mr. Thompson," she said, "you have my full attention." I didn't talk about my feelings. I didn't talk about my broken heart. I was an architect presenting a structural problem. I laid out the blueprints of my wife's betrayal. I started with the hotel receipt. I showed her the screenshot of David's sunglasses. The reflection, the lie. Her face didn't change. She just nodded, slowly. "Circumstantial," she said. Her voice was like gravel, strong, but a good lawyer could fight it. I nodded. "I know." Then I took out my phone. I placed it on her desk. "This is not circumstantial." I pressed play. Chloe's voice filled the sterile office, her confession, her lies, the crocodile tears, the whole ugly 2-year affair. And then, the final line. It just happened. I stopped the recording. The silence in the room was absolute. Ms. Albright looked at the phone, then she looked at me. For the first time, I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. It looked like respect. "Is this a one-party consent state?" I asked. She gave a thin, predatory smile. "It is." "Good," I said. I reached into my briefcase. I pulled out one more document. It was old, a little yellowed at the edges. I slid it across the desk. "There's also this." She picked it up. She read the first page. Her eyebrows shot up. She flipped to the back. She looked at the signatures. Mine. Chloe's, 10 years old. It was our prenuptial agreement. The one my father had insisted on. The one Chloe had laughed at. She called it unromantic. She signed it without even reading it. She was too busy picking out floral arrangements. I was willing to bet my entire life she'd forgotten it even existed. Ms. Albright read the key clauses aloud. My firm, its assets, the house I owned before our marriage. All of it was mine, separate property. In case of divorce, she was entitled to a one-time payment, $75,000, and half of our joint savings. That was it. Miss Albright put the document down. She folded her hands on her desk. "Mr. Thompson," she said, "this isn't a divorce. This is a demolition, and you've handed me the dynamite." We spent the next hour building the plan. It had to be precise, it had to be quiet, and it had to be final. No messy court battles, no long drawn-out fight, just a single, clean cut. She told me what to do. Transfer money, secure my business accounts, make copies of everything, and most importantly, wait. "Go home," she said. "Act normal. Let her believe she's gotten away with it. People get sloppy when they're comfortable." So that's what I did. I went home. I became the perfect husband, the loving, oblivious fool. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Every night, I'd lie next to her in our bed, the bed I designed, in the house I built, and I'd feel the heat from her body, the body she'd given to my best friend. I wanted to be sick. Instead, I just breathed, in, out. I played my part. David called me a few days later. "Hey man, want to hit the driving range Saturday?" My hand tightened on the phone, my knuckles went white. I could hear his voice, the same voice on Chloe's confession, the voice of my brother, my betrayer. "Can't, man," I said. My own voice sounded calm, normal. "Buried in a project. Rain check?" "For sure, buddy. Talk soon." He hung up. Buddy. The word was acid in my ear. They had no idea. They thought they were so smart. They moved through my life like ghosts, haunting the spaces that were once sacred. And I just watched them. I gathered my evidence. I made my moves. I was a ghost too. The one they couldn't see. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of hell disguised as heaven. Then one night, Chloe came home, glowing. She was practically vibrating with excitement. "Don't make any plans for Saturday the 18th, she said, kissing me. "Okay," I said. "Why?" She gave me a playful, secretive smile. "It's a surprise." But I already knew. Our 10-year anniversary was on the 19th. She was planning a party, a big one. The event planner in her couldn't resist. Over the next week, I watched the preparations. The caterers were called. The invitations went out. She was giddy. She'd show me linen samples. She'd ask my opinion on playlists. "Should we invite David and Sarah?" she asked one night. Her eyes were wide, innocent, a perfect performance. I felt a cold smile touch my lips. Of course, he's my best friend. It wouldn't be a party without them. The irony was so thick, it felt like I was choking on it. She was planning a celebration of our unbreakable bond, a tribute to our 10 years of love and trust. She was building the stage for her own execution, and she was paying for the catering. It was perfect. You couldn't write it. The day of the party arrived. It was a beautiful, clear Saturday. While she was at the salon, I went to my office. I printed everything. A copy of the divorce petition Ms. Albright had prepared. A copy of the prenup. I highlighted the asset separation clause in bright yellow. Then I printed the receipt from the Alistair. I arranged them in a neat stack. Petition, prenup, receipt. I slipped them into a thick, legal-sized manila envelope. Then I went to our bedroom. I opened my closet. I pulled out a small black duffel bag, my go bag, a change of clothes, toiletries, my laptop, everything I needed. I zipped it up. I slid it under the bed, hidden, ready. I looked around the room, our room, photos on the wall, a life built on a lie. I felt nothing. No sadness, no anger, just quiet. A calm before the storm. The architect in me saw the truth. The foundation was compromised. The entire structure was unstable. It was time to bring the building down. I heard her car pull into the driveway. I went downstairs. She looked beautiful. Her hair was done. She was wearing a new dress. She smiled when she saw me. The same charming smile that had fooled me for a decade. "Ready for your surprise?" she asked. I looked her right in the eye. "I can't wait." The backyard was transformed. A perfect illusion. Fairy lights were strung between the trees I'd planted myself. A caterer served expensive champagne from a bar on the patio. My patio. The one I designed. 50 of our closest friends were there. They were laughing. They were drinking. They were celebrating a decade-long lie. I watched Chloe move through the crowd. She was a master of her craft. The perfect hostess. The adoring wife. She'd touch someone's arm. She'd laugh at a joke. Her charisma was a weapon. I saw it so clearly for the first time. It wasn't warmth. It was camouflage. Then I saw David. He stood by the grill talking to his wife, Sarah. He looked over and caught my eye. He grinned. He raised his glass in a toast. I raised mine back. A silent promise between brothers. One of us was a liar. He walked over to me. He clapped me on the back, a little too hard. 10 years, buddy, he boomed. His voice was full of false cheer. To the strongest couple I know. I just smiled. The smile felt like a mask I was wearing. It was heavy. It was cold. "Thanks, man," I said. My voice was even. "Means a lot coming from you." He had no idea. He stood there in my house. He drank my wine. He celebrated the marriage he helped me destroy. The sheer arrogance of it was breathtaking. You have to understand. They thought they were invincible. They thought I was a fool. An hour passed. The sun disappeared. The fairy lights glowed brighter against the dark sky. The music was soft. Then Chloe picked up a champagne flute. She tapped it gently with a fork. The chatter died down. Every eye in the yard turned to her. Showtime. She stood on the top step of the patio. A spotlight I'd installed myself lit her up perfectly. She looked radiant. She looked like a complete and utter fraud. "Hi, everyone," she began. Her voice was thick with emotion. Fake emotion. "Thank you all for being here. For celebrating 10 years with me and Mark." She looked right at me. A single, perfect tear rolled down her cheek. An actress on her stage. "Mark," she said, her voice catching. 10 years ago, I married my soulmate, my rock, the man who built this beautiful life for US. The crowd murmured. I saw Sarah squeeze David's hand. They were all watching a movie, and they loved every second of it. "It hasn't always been easy," Chloe continued. "The lie came so easily to her. But our bond, it's unbreakable. Our love is the foundation of everything." The foundation, the word hung in the air. I almost laughed out loud. She had no idea how right she was. She raised her glass high. "To my wonderful husband, to 10 years down and a lifetime to go." The yard erupted in applause. "Speech! Speech!" Someone shouted from the back. Chloe beamed. She turned to me. She held out the portable microphone. "Your turn, honey." I stood up. I walked towards her. The applause faded into an expectant hush. I took the microphone from her hand. Our fingers brushed. I felt nothing. Just cold steel. I looked out at the faces, all our friends, all the people who thought they knew us. I let the silence stretch. I wanted them to lean in, to listen closely. "Thank you, Chloe," I said. My voice was steady. It didn't shake. That was beautiful. I paused. I let my eyes drift from Chloe over to David. He was standing right next to Sarah. His arm was draped casually around her shoulders, a picture of a happy husband. An anniversary is a time for reflection, I continued. It's about looking back, remembering the promises you made, and it's about being honest about the life you've built together. I saw a flicker of something in Chloe's eyes, nerves or just confusion. The performance was starting to crack, and in the spirit of honesty, I said, my voice dropping, becoming colder, sharper. I have an anniversary gift for you too, Chloe. I put the microphone down on a table. I walked over to the bar. Tucked behind it was my briefcase. I opened it. I pulled out the thick, legal-sized manila envelope. The crowd was silent now. They knew something was wrong. The mood had shifted. The air was electric. I walked back to Chloe. I held out the envelope. For you, I said. Her smile was gone. It was replaced by a look of pure confusion. She took the envelope. Her hand was trembling. Mark, what is this? Open it, I said. My voice was flat. An order. She fumbled with the metal clasp. Her fingers weren't working right. The crowd watched. Every single person. It was dead quiet. You could hear the ice melting in their glasses. She pulled out the papers. The first page was on top. The divorce petition. Her name was printed in bold black letters, right next to mine. I watched the color drain from her face. It was like watching a statue turn to ash. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her eyes darted down to the next page. The prenup, the one she signed 10 years ago, the one she had completely, foolishly forgotten. I saw her eyes scan the page. They stopped on the bright yellow highlighter. The asset separation clause. My business was mine. The house was mine. Everything I built was mine. Her hand shook so hard the papers rattled. Then she saw the last one, tucked behind the prenup, the receipt from the Alistair, that boutique hotel downtown, dated on a Tuesday she was working late. That was the final blow. I saw the recognition in her eyes, the pure, unadulterated panic. She knew that I knew everything. I leaned in close. The crowd couldn't hear us. This part was just for her. I whispered in her ear. I used the same words she used on me, the words from my recording. You never meant for it to hurt me, right? A sound escaped her throat, a choked, strangled gasp. It wasn't loud, but in the silence of that yard, it was a gunshot. Her eyes met mine. They were wide with horror, with devastation. The mask was gone. The performance was over. All that was left was the ugly truth. The party didn't end. It just dissolved. Whispers started at the edges of the crowd. They spread like wildfire. People started looking at each other. Then at me. Then at her. Chloe stood frozen. A statue of guilt, clutching the papers that had just destroyed her life. Then I saw it. The final piece of my plan clicking into place. Sarah, David's wife. She was staring. Not at me, not at Chloe. She was staring at her husband. She saw the look on his face. The same panic, the same guilt, the pieces connected for her, right there, in front of everyone. The stolen glances, the late nights, the solo hiking trips. It all made a sickening kind of sense. Her face crumpled, not with tears, with rage. She didn't say a word to him. She just turned. She walked away, straight through the crowd, out the side gate, and she was gone. David stood there, dumbfounded. He started to follow her. "Sarah, wait!" he called out. He scrambled after her like a dog. A pathetic, desperate chase. His life was imploding right behind hers. I didn't stay to watch the rest. My part was done. I turned my back on Chloe, on the wreckage of our life. I walked back into the house. My house. The living room was empty. The party music still played softly from the speakers. I went upstairs, to our bedroom. I reached under the bed. I pulled out the small black duffel bag, my go bag. I walked back down the stairs. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I could feel the chaos behind me. The end of 2 marriages, the death of a friendship, the final invoice for all their lies. I opened the front door. I stepped out into the cool night air. I left the home I had built. I left the woman I had once loved. And I walked away, free. The divorce was swift. Ms. Albright was worth every single penny. Chloe's lawyers tried to fight the prenup. They called it predatory, unconscionable. Then Ms. Albright played my recording, the one from our kitchen table. Their arguments just evaporated. Chloe got exactly what she signed for 10 years ago. $75,000, and half our joint savings. It was a fraction of what she expected. David and Sarah's divorce was worse, much messier. He lost his wife. He lost his best friend. He lost his reputation in our social circle. All of it burned to the ground in a single night, on a patio I designed. I sold the house immediately. I couldn't stand to live in it anymore. Too many ghosts walked those halls. I heard Chloe is renting a small apartment across town. I've never seen her again. And you know what? I do not want to. I lost the life I thought I had. The 10 years I thought were real. But I gained the truth in its place. It was a brutal, painful trade, but I would make it again. Some things, once they are shattered, can't be fixed. Trust is one of them. It doesn't heal. It just gets replaced by something colder, something harder. Now I live downtown, in a new condo high above the city. Sometimes, late at night, I stand by the window. I look out at all the lights. I can just make out the sign for a boutique hotel, the Alistair. I don't feel anger when I see it. I don't feel pain. I just feel quiet. And in my hand, I hold a set of keys, the keys to this place, keys that only I own.